Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I wanted to share with you my university and work journey and experience. I've had a few queries about this, and while I did answer a couple of questions about it in my Q&A, which I did quite a while ago now, if I can find the link I will drop it down below or up here, I thought it might be a good idea to actually go through and explain, I guess, in a little bit more detail what I studied and how I got into the workforce and all that sort of thing. Yeah, so I went straight into university from college and I decided to do a double degree. So I started with a BCA majoring in accounting and economics and a BA majoring in political science and international relations. So I decided to do a double degree because I wanted to study something that I would find interesting and compelling and that I would be passionate about. But then I also wanted to study something that I felt would give me the skills that I needed to enter the workforce. So I was trying to be as logical as possible about it. I think that when you're at university, you really need to be studying something that you enjoy, and that when you go home after your lectures, you're going to actually want to sit down and do the work, do the research, and do your assignments. About a year and a half into my degree, I actually decided that I no longer wanted to pursue the commerce side of my studies, so I decided to just focus on political science and international relations so that I would end up graduating with a BA majoring in political science and international relations. So for me, it was really important that I wasn't trying to chase something that would ultimately make me a lot of money, because I think that business degrees are kind of associated with that. I actually wanted to do something that would make me feel really fulfilled once I finished my studies and entered the workforce. And at the time, I did have some quite idealistic views on what I might be able to do once I finished university. I'd had dreams of going working for the United Nations and going to impoverished countries and actually volunteering there, which, as much as I wanted to do it, unfortunately it just didn't end up working out for me. I think it's only natural to second guess your decision in terms of knowing what to study and whether or not you've actually studied the right thing. For me, I found that international relations and politics weren't necessarily the whole side of the story. Once I came out of university and I did get a job, eventually a few years in, I decided that I wanted to pursue further studies. I actually went back and I decided to do postgraduate studies in marketing, just as I felt that that might complement my skill set that I was starting to build just from being in the workforce. So in terms of where I studied my Bachelor of Arts at the Victoria University of Wellington, and I did my postgraduate marketing studies through Massey University because they actually allowed you to do your studies extramurally, which means that you don't have to go to any classes. You do all your study in your own time and then you submit assignments on their due date, which worked really well for me because I was actually working full time and I didn't actually have an opportunity to go to the university to attend lectures. Now, I was very fortunate when I finished university that a family friend let me know about a job that was going in a bank. It was in the call center, but there was definitely room for advancement if that was something that I wanted to pursue. So I went and applied and I was able to get an interview and I got the job. However, I found that it was completely not the right environment for me. It was too rigid and too structured and I just felt very stifled, and I just felt that it wasn't the best place for me to be. So after, I think I worked there for 4 or 5 months, I decided to leave and actually try and pursue something that would make me happy. So I found that it was actually really difficult to enter the workforce after university because without any real experience, people are quite hesitant to take you on. And I know here in Australia, a lot of people do internships, which gives them some real life work experience. However, I found in Wellington, that wasn't really something that a lot of people do. I didn't really have any friends that did any internships. It just wasn't something that we did back then. I mean, I am 28 now, so when I first started studying, it was 10 years ago. So I was entering the workforce 7 years ago, I believe. So yeah, I know a lot of things have changed since then. When I was at university, I actually managed bar full time, so I worked between 40 and 60 hours a week managing a bar while I was studying. So I decided to kind of go back into that until I could find myself a job that I really wanted to do. And it took me probably about 3 to 4 months to get my first job, and I was working for a member of parliament. and I actually took on a part-time role. I didn't start in a job full-time. I wanted to enter the workforce, and I was really willing to take on any experience that I could get, just as I found that that would be a really great learning curve for me, and then from there I could go into something that was full-time. The other thing is there weren't really a lot of graduate positions out there, so I feel like you're probably competing against a lot of other people who had the same experience as you, which does make things really difficult. And I think it's really important to make sure that your CV stands out and that your cover letter stands out, because half of the battle is actually getting that interview. From there, it's you and maybe a few other candidates. But when it comes to sending in your CV, you could be one of hundreds. So I was really fortunate to get this role at Parliament. I didn't have any connections. I know that if you do have some contacts, it can always help you to get those initial roles. But for me, it was, I feel like, pure dumb luck. I must have had a really great cover letter that helped me to get that interview. And as I said, I started working 15 hours a week, so I was there on sitting days for 5 hours each time. And eventually I was able to really prove myself and show that I had the skills needed to do the job. So eventually that became 30 hours a week, and then I moved into a complete full-time role. So I ended up working at Parliament for 4 years, and maybe longer. I did do another job, and then I went back working for one of the MPs I'd already worked for before moving to Australia. In terms of what I wore for my interview, I still remember I wore a silk long sleeve blouse from Ashley Fogel, a black skirt that was knee length from Zara, a black Zara blazer, and some court shoes from Topshop. And I just think you just got to wear something really professional and simple. You do not have to spend a lot on your first outfit, but I do think it's really important to have those pieces that are going to make you look smart. You just need one outfit. You can wear it to all of your interviews. If you guys would like to see a video on a few different looks to wear to interviews, then let me know, as I'd be happy to pull something together. I think the thing that is really important to note is that it can take years to finally land the job that you really want. You have to start from the bottom, and it is going to take a while for your career to progress. The other thing I wanted to mention is moving country, because Luke and I, we moved to Australia 3 years ago, and one of the things that I found, and I was already kind of conscious of this when we were moving, is that you lose all of the currency that you've built up in your previous place of work. So I was at a point where I could move into a more senior role. However, we had made the decision to move to Australia, and it meant that I had to take a step back and go for more junior positions, just so that I could build up that experience and that reputation here in Sydney. But yeah, so in terms of the kind of work that I ended up doing, my first role was an executive assistant to a member of Parliament, so supporting them with diary management and everything that they need for their day-to-day duties. Now, this actually ended up shifting into a half admin role and half communications role for me, as I started taking on work writing press releases, columns, newsletters, those sorts of things, which was really great experience, and it was something that I found that I really enjoyed and that I wanted to pursue. And that's part of the reason why I decided to actually do some marketing study, just as I thought that that would really complement the skills that I was gaining in my job. Since moving over to Sydney, you guys know I work in publicity in the television industry, so it did take me a few years to get there. I love where I work. I'm really pleased and really grateful to be doing what I do. Now, there was just one question that I wanted to answer, and it was, if I didn't work in an office, do I think my wardrobe would be different, and how? And that comes from Ingrid. And I don't think it would be too different to what it's like now. One thing that was really important to me when I was working, just even in the initial stages, was that I really wanted to remain true to my own personal identity and my own personal style, and I really wanted to have that flexibility to wear and do what I want. And I have to say that I was really fortunate, because the two MPs that I worked for both had young daughters, so they didn't really blink and bat an eyelid or anything like that if I came in wearing something that was a little bit maybe not quite appropriate for the office. So I was quite lucky in that respect, and I think over time I was able to figure out what worked and what was appropriate for the office and get there on my own time. And it was great because I didn't have to lose my sense of identity in doing that, or wear things that might make me look a little bit older or that weren't really feeling like me. And for me, that was great, just as it gave me an opportunity to really figure out who I was in terms of my personal style and experiment without feeling stifled at all. Sorry if the lighting's been really off in this video. I am using natural light, and the sun keeps peeking in and out behind the clouds, so it's just sort of wreaking havoc with my setup. But that was sort of my experience. I hope you guys have found this useful or interesting and that you've enjoyed watching this video. If you do have any questions, please drop them down in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them for you. And yeah, let me know if you want to see a lookbook on what to wear to an interview, and I'll see you guys next time with a brand new video. Thanks for watching. Bye.